Hello. I am a therapist. I got a master's degree in social work from State University of New York at Albany. I've worked with people, all sorts of people. I've worked with black females who wanted female counselors. I've worked with white people in New York that didn't want an African American counselor or a therapist. I know the history of race relations. I know the history of slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, the ongoing systemic history of racism in this country, and as well as the average black person does. I think in this country we're at a precipice. You know, we're at a defining moment in the history of our country and the world, and we're boarding or around issues or dealing with issues that even relate to whether the world is going to continue to exist in a way that we know it. And all these things are here upon us now because of white people's inability to deal with their racism as it relates to black people. There were conversations about white guilt around what they done to blacks, but I submit that white people aren't really guilty about what they've done to blacks. They may be guilty about what they've done to other groups, maybe Mexicans, maybe Jewish people, because the Jews say America is complicit in the Holocaust and stuff like that. So we all know that, you know, white people, Americans, do not want to deal with the subject of reparations for black people. Every other group that's been wronged has received reparations. So why can't black people receive reparations? And we won't get into whether there aren't any surviving members from slavery. Anything you get as an inheritance is handed down. And blacks still live under systematic, ongoing racism. It's by design. You know, so you don't have to figure out who should get it and who shouldn't get it. Oprah Winfrey probably wouldn't need any of it. Bill Cosby probably wouldn't need any of it. And any other black who's risen to a level where they have a lot of money. But there are people in their family, relatives, who would qualify for those reparations, whether some of it's in kind or whatever. An in-kind example would be if black people wanted to get rid of their slave name. They wouldn't have to pay the court system anything. They wouldn't have to pay to publish it or anything. That's a brand. That's like branding cattle. So if a black person wanted to get rid of a slave name, they should be able to do that free. Absolutely, totally free. I have suggested in the past that would be a game changer. If enough people woke up one morning and decided that black people, that they wanted to drop their last name or change their entire names to something African or Middle Eastern, as you guys like to call it, when the Middle East is Africa, that it would raise eyebrows and change the consciousness of a lot of people. And social work says if you want to change something, it starts with the individual. When the individual changes something, the other dancers or players involved, they are forced to change because you're different. So this is what's happening with black people. Black people say Black Lives Matter. White people want to say all lives matter. Black people have known that all lives matter since they were kidnapped and brought here to this continent. Since Indians were driven from their lands and uprooted in the Trail of Tears and given smallpox blankets. We've known things that affect humanity and individuals and human beings matter. I don't think there's been a group of people on this earth that have impacted other human beings anywhere close to the way white people have impacted human beings on this planet. And they frame it around manifest destiny and somehow being God's will. So God distinctly, according to white people, cares about white people only, and anything that white people do to other people, for some reason, in their eyes, seems to be okay. That's some twisted logic, in my opinion. Really, it really is. So you're superior. You're beautiful. You're the most beautiful thing on this earth. So, you must be a fallen angel. You must be God's favorite angels, a male and a female version, so beautiful that he kicked out of heaven for some reason. Or either you guys are aliens or something. How else could you explain your being here and the destructiveness you've brought upon the only planet that we have that where we can exist as human beings, or where life can exist in terms that we know it. We have water, we have oxygen and stuff like that, for life to exist here on Earth. We're at a precipice. We, according to white people, deserve life for every mistake that we made. When the football player hit his wife, nobody wanted him to work ever again. Ray is his name. I can't think of his whole name right now. But I haven't heard anybody say anything about Johnny Football not having a job or being banned from football forever. Another opinion of mine is that, black people are made the poster child for everything bad. I don't remember seeing too many instances where a black man would kill his pregnant wife. Before I left New York, somewhere in Massachusetts, a white guy did that. And then as the years have passed, it's happened more than one time. One white woman was found in a landfill. And of course, the situation where the guy killed his wife and dumped her in the ocean somewhere, and she floated up, and Connor, the baby's name was Connor, floated up and appeared to, this is spontaneous, so I don't have all this stuff written out. I just felt like saying something and putting something out there. All this stuff about Beyonce and her ability and right to make a statement. Just because she's an actor, I'm not an actor, she's a singer, an excellent singer. She has a lot of status and she's very popular, means somehow she loses her citizen's card or her right to make a statement of some kind. People make statements all the time, artistically, in all forms of artistry, painting, books, statements, dance, musically, in movies and everywhere, everything else. Arnold Schwarzenegger could make movies about the Terminator and kill a whole bunch of cops, just blow them away in a movie and stuff. And nobody says boycott Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies and stuff. But the minute a black person, or NWA said, fuck the police. NWA was personas non grata, or Ice-T. That's kind of ironic. Ice-T made cop killer. Now he's a cop on TV. So, how we operate is based on some chaos theory or string theory or stuff. None of it makes sense. But The bottom line is white people want black people to get over it. We aren't going to get over it. You know, that's some crazy Twilight Zone shit you're even suggesting, because you won't say that to a Jew. Go tell a Jew to get over it. How can Obama allocate $12 million to Jews, American Jews, I'm assuming, and not even consider reparations for black people in some form in this country? It's a good thing that the UN has brought this up. We're going to have to deal with it. Mr. Coates' article in the Atlantic on reparations, I haven't read it, but I've heard him speak about it, and I've heard other people say how it lays out the argument quite succinctly about why reparations should be considered. And it's a given. And if the Japanese who were interned or any other group has been harmed by another group, they've gotten reparations, then blacks shouldn't be excluded. And you should stop telling us or asking us to get over it, because we're not. You know, and I don't know, they should eliminate this grand jury stuff. And because you people don't know what reasonable is. And you're supposed to be so superior and everything. So you've forgotten definitions of words. And your lying eyes can't see the truth. So how can you understand the truth when it's presented to you in words? It's like smoke and mirrors and stuff like that. It's like some big running joke and stuff. You know, you helped defeat Hitler, but you were envious of Hitler. And all that you could learn from Hitler, you brought with you to the United States of America in terms of experimentation and, you know, envy around controlling that many people. We're at a point in history where everyone believes that they're being controlled by the system. The system's controlled by the Illuminati, who worship some owl or the devil. The devil's supposed to be running this joint anyway right now. So, you know, folks are trying to figure out who the Antichrist is. Right-wing Christianers and holy rollers, not just Christian holy rollers. Man seems to have this idea that God needs help in bringing about Armageddon. And so they're kind of helping forces out there that's helping this come along. And you know what? Good for them. Let them go ahead and do what they do. You know, the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. So there's unintended consequences in everything. And people can't wrap their heads around. I can't. And I can't seem to get other people to wrap their heads around why most of the world is banning Monsanto. And our president in this country, the United States of America, our president signed a bill to allow Monsanto to do what it does. And they don't want us to label our food, to know where our food is coming from. They're talking about the lead poisoning that's going on in Flint, Michigan. No one's mentioning that the poisoning of with fluoride in our water. It seems that everything that man makes in this country, he wants to put some kind of carcinogen in it, some kind of poison. I don't know where that comes from. And it's coming out again that AIDS is a man-made disease. People may call the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, but in my mind, it's the Center for Disease Development, you know, creation. That's highly possible. And the guy that's over it, it would be a good thing if he would just go. His time is up. He's going to be there forever, but his time should be up. And black people have to be the chosen people. I mean, they have some of the best hearts and the most patient hearts that I've seen among any group of people. Long patience and suffering and stuff like that. It's just remarkable how we are waiting on justice. And we aren't simply just sitting around waiting. We're activists. We've been pushing. We've pushed to get to this point. We suffered to get to this point. It took a lot of effort. It's going to take more effort. You people, you can boycott the NFL about Beyonce, and we're going to boycott the NFL about your boycotting, because we spend money too, okay? So we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to say what we're going to say, and we're going to boycott and counter-boycott, make statements and counter-statements to anything you come up with, okay? We're going to do that. So don't be scared about black people. Be scared about Timothy McVeigh's and right-wingers. So those are the people that are afraid of government and that you should be afraid of, you know, and it's becoming a small world. You've had black people to fight for you in every war you've ever had. Sort of like your best friend on a large level. But now you got your hand in everything. You spread yourself so thin. You're like Rome. I'm surprised you're still standing. I said in graduate school years ago, undergraduate school may have been, that America, the system was a house of cards and it was going to fall. And this time they would struggle mightily to lift it up and to build it back. And I said that in 88, I think. In my undergraduate years and stuff. Because over the years, from the time I entered Hudson Valley Community College in 86, in 87 they had recessions, and every year they were having recessions. Looked like to me, New York never could pass a budget. And I'm just lately learning that, well, that's the political sensibility in New York. The political sensibility in the whole entire United States is off kilter. Social Security was supposed to be a locked box. Congressmen have stolen almost $2.some trillion from that locked box. They should not look to get that money back from the taxpayers. That money should be taken from their salaries and their pension funds if it's over a number of years. They get close to their salary for the rest of their lives. So they should pay that money back for whatever they used it for. They stole it out of a lockbox until it's paid back. Social Security is not an entitlement. Social safety net is not an entitlement. It's a right. Who do the resources of the world belong to? The people where those resources are. And in any continent, any world, don't have all the resources. So the United States is used to looking for resources and either, you know, taking them, strong arming them, or, you know, ripping people off, not giving them a fair equity in the resources that they have, you know. And Africa is the richest country. It's not a country yet on the planet. So, you know, they're currently, you know, China, the United States, and every country that can get in there, Europeans, have basically stolen monies and precious metals and resources that don't belong to them. The Native Americans have been able to get some land back and some rights back. But the Bureau of Indian Affairs It's still stealing from them, and they're still taking land from Native Americans. I was upset about Mexicans and stuff. But in the next breath or the next thought, I think, well, hell, Texas and most of California belong to Mexicans and Native Americans. So if there are 13 million illegals here, so what? But I have to wrestle with myself on a daily basis when I make that distinction or think logically about it, because I'm pissed. You know, how can they come here and get all benefits that they haven't paid anything into? Is it because, okay, at the Alamo, their land was stolen, or they got ripped off with the sale of California, or the Louisiana Purchase? Who did we purchase that from? A land that was taken, gotten from the Indians with trinkets and cookware or pottery or stuff like that. So when I get angry about what the Indians have or the Mexicans are doing, if I think about it logically, I come to my senses. And they're generations from when all that stuff happened. So in the same sense, we're generations away from slavery. So since we're generations away from slavery, that doesn't mean that we don't warrant restitution, reparations, recovery, to be made whole. It's not divisive. It's logical. If it's divisive for us African Americans to be made whole, it's divisive to do anything for anybody else that something has been done for. Mexicans, Native Americans. And how can you allow 10 to 20 some thousand Syrians into this country and give a family of 4 upwards of $200 and some thousand a year? I don't know whether that's a rumor or whether that's fact, but it's insane. And what makes where we are and what goes on with our Congress so insane that for some years we've had black representation. So what's going on with the CBC, the Black Caucus, and the people? They don't read the bills. They don't know we're getting shafted in all these bills they've been co-signing. How can every convenience store be run by a Hindu or an Arab? Or all the hotels, these hotels by Hindus or Arabs? It's like poor whites or poor blacks can't run stores. In a lot of instances, these people are renting these places. They're rotating people in and out. Some people who stay long enough to apply for residency and stuff like that. So it's all this carefully crafted legislation and this dance that's being created that excludes poor white people and poor black people, and they have pitted us against each other. You know, and poor white people think they have something going on because they have white skin privilege, which is no privilege. Like Jesse Jackson used to say, there's more white people on welfare and food stamps because there's more of you. We like to wrap stuff around disproportionality and proportionality and stuff when we're talking about the ills of any group of people. So you multiply those ills by any kind of X factor, X number with white people, and it's more of you doing whatever. So this has been ad hoc. This video and unscripted, and I intend to do some more videos, some that will be more scripted, more planned out, based on my education, based on my experience and my beliefs as part of this country, my experience and my history being alive, my understanding of faith. I've been involved in the church. I've been baptized. I don't think my God is the God of our religion or the Bible, because because I've been through some things, and I'm a recovering person. So in my recovery, I've been trained to think of God as I understand Him, as if anybody can understand God. But a lot of people say they can. They discerned certain things, or God has talked to them or spoken to them. And in the early history, a lot of people walked around and they'd been talking and hearing God and stuff like that, and they were able to get away with that. But if you go too far in this day and time with that, you're going to get psychological done on you, and you're going to get in trouble, with that whole mental health field and stuff like that, which is a field I'm in. I jokingly call it DSM-5 now, which it is, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, a witch book. And every diagnosis is in there is based on minority attributes. If you really read it, they say this is something that is characterized by another group. And actually it's saying that white people shouldn't be going through these changes, but these symptoms exhibit traits shown by other groups. But that's a whole nother topic. So I just want to say right on to Beyonce. I want to say, what's up, Santana? When did you become so wholesome and stuff? You come out of the hippie, rock and roll, sex, drug, and rock and roll history. Jay-Z is still with his wife. He didn't leave his wife yet. Hopefully he doesn't. For some young, beautiful second wife and stuff like that. So Beyonce and Jay-Z have an intact family, and they're very successful, caring people. If she wanted to use that platform to make a statement, it was her business. The NFL had to see them rehearsing, and there's nothing wrong with her acknowledging the history of the Panther Party. Everybody knows what the Panther Party, why it came into existence. It wasn't about destroying the white community. It was about saving the black community. And the response from the white community about the Black Panthers was to put drugs and guns in Oakland to destroy black people. And so it spread. And, white people are poised to make millions off legal marijuana while they're still locking black people up for marijuana. There shouldn't be any prohibition on any drugs, I think. It should be all wrapped around mental health and addiction. Crime and criminality should be removed from that. Even pharmaceutical and scheduled drugs and stuff. People will generally use what they need, not in excess, if they have access to it. Some people will overdo it. That's the case with any group of people. I saw a police officer in a convenience store the other day buying his fix, a carton of cigarettes. I know as a therapist, as a recovering person, as an addictions therapist, and I've worked in sex abuse, that smoking kills as much as any other drug, and it's the hardest habit to quit. It's about as hard or harder than quitting the habit of any other drug. Alcohol is. I come from a family of alcoholics. Alcohol was an issue for me. Alcohol kills as much as any drug out there. I know. It's more devastating as any drug out there. I know. So, we know prohibition doesn't work. We know that a lot of things don't work. But America is so fixated on control that they can't reverse course and do the right thing. We know great big ships can't turn on a dime in the water. Airplanes can't turn on a dime. But man should be able to turn on a dime. You know, we want to do research and we want to put things off 5 and 10, 15 years down the road because of, you know, how it's going to impact financial institutions, not because of, you know, we should make an about face right now. You know, if you're in war, you don't take 5 or 6 days to retreat. If the enemy is overwhelming you, you turn around and haul ass or do something different. Peace out.